Thank you. Just a quick bit of background about me and where I'm from. I'm a Principal Policy Officer for the Greater London Authority, which is the Mayor of London's administrative body, and we are responsible for delivering circular economy policies through all our strategic plans, and that's been my focus for the last 2 years. So I'm going to talk to you about what we're doing in London at the GLA to try and help accelerate London's transition to the circular economy, and really that's about creating the right policy conditions to enable circular economy to happen, whether it mean for large infrastructure projects through the planning system or through public procurement, allowing those organisations that are investing in circular economy products or services to get right engaged into the supply chain and be very active in London to really make sure that we're doing all we can to allow those organisations to thrive. Just a bit about us. You probably recognise that face. So Sadiq Khan is the Mayor of London, elected in 2016, and we're a reasonably small strategic authority, around about 600 full-time staff, 1,000 staff all up, including fixed-term contractors, and we set budgets for public transport, housing, police, around about £17 billion per year, so a fair bit of clout and influence across the city, and also the Mayor has the responsibility for setting the strategic planning framework known as the London Plan for any major development schemes to come through the Greater London Authority for determination. And we also have a mandate to develop a London Environment Strategy, which we published in May of last year, which local authorities have a requirement to be in conformity with when developing their waste contracts and services and plans. Just a bit of a snapshot of how London's performing just in terms of waste and recycling. Although sort of the outer loops of circular economy, it's very important that we engage local authorities to really improve their recycling performance. And this gives you a bit of a snapshot of where London is. A lot of variation in recycling performance, and we're trying to get a lot of uniformity across London, starting with having a minimum level of service for recycling, which we expect all boroughs to meet by 2020. And we're really pleased to see that government have come out recently to set a national standard for all local authorities to deliver in terms of recycling, minimum level of service for recycling performance, and also separate food waste. And we're trying to get a lot of boroughs achieving around about the sort of 50% recycling rate, which Bexley are achieving now. At the moment, London recycles about 30% of its local authority waste, so a fair bit of improvement needed to get to 50%. But I think it's just worth reiterating the importance of recycling performance as part of the journey for transition to a circular economy. So what is I suppose the reasons for why we're looking at a circular economy approach? We see it not only as a useful approach to take, but also a very necessary approach to take for London to thrive and maintain its competitive position in the global economy. This graph shows that London's population is expected to grow significantly to around about 11.5 million by the year 2050. And if we really want to make sure that we have all the right infrastructure to accommodate the growth in both population and also jobs, we need to take more of a circular approach, making sure we're making the best use of our resources, we're generating as less waste as possible, and we're allowing a platform for innovators to come in and help London to innovate and to design circular products and services that we can all embrace. And just to give you an idea of the scale of the challenge that's needed in London to manage the growth in population, we think we need about 1.5 million more homes to be built over the next 20 years. That's around about a rate of 50,000 new homes. At the moment, we're building about 25,000 homes, so a huge amount of improvement needed there. 20% increase in energy supply capacity, around about 600 more schools and colleges, 900 hectares in accessible green space, so some big headline numbers there. And so we see a circular economy approach an absolute necessity in order to meet some of these numbers to manage London's growth. So what are we doing? We launched a London Infrastructure Plan in 2015 for consultation, and that's being iterated over the years. And waste and circular economy is seen as a key plank within that infrastructure plan to identify what types of infrastructure we need. And really, my job is to try and identify where the policy areas that we need to invest in most heavily. The London Waste Recycling Board, our delivery partner, they've got a stand just behind you. You may have heard some of them speak already, but they produced a London Circular Economy route map, last year and identified that if London was to fully embrace the circular economy, that we would experience some fairly decent savings in the realm of £5 billion in terms of avoided or reduced waste infrastructure or disposal costs, and bringing around £7 billion worth of benefits by 2035 in terms of new jobs, around about 12,000 new jobs, but also around about £10 million in savings in avoided waste disposal costs from local authorities. So some big headline numbers, and it's about, right, how do we actually realise some of those big sort of high-level macro economy benefits. And in terms of how London's placed, we've got a very strong financial sector, clearly, and we've got, so that really reinforces that we have the skill set, the skill base to use to launch our transition to the circular economy. Within the London green sector, London green goods and services sector alone, there's around about 6 to 7% annual growth, which is pretty impressive compared to other sectors in terms of growth. We have a lot of expertise in this area. We have a lot of expertise in trying to secure finance for new opportunities and new growth opportunities. So it's about leveraging that strength with London's finance sector, but also across its media and tech sectors as well, and trying to bring all these sectors together to deliver circular economy transition. So what are we doing at the GLA? We've got three main policy platforms. So if you like, our circular economy strategy is about delivering circular economy policies across all our strategic plans. So if you like, sort of being the mole across all our strategic plans. So the first one we did was the London Environment Strategy, which we launched last May, and that was really about giving a bit of a launching pad to the work that Advanced London do within London Waste and Recycling Board, and they provide a lot of support through their programs to SMEs to develop new products and services to try and get those products to market and helping those businesses to grow in the circular space, so that the focus of investment is on small businesses developing good products, circular products, to try and reduce waste and support greater levels of reuse and recyclability, as opposed to investing in big bits of kit to process a lot of waste, because we expect there to be less waste to be processed in the future if we are successful in that transition to a circular economy. The second area is around the economic development strategy, and that's about giving further support to circular economy business models. But I think really the two main areas that we're focusing on is through responsible procurement policy and the London Plan. So the London Plan, as I said before, is the strategic planning document which is used to determine large-scale plan applications. And for the first time, we're introducing a new policy which will require all new developments to demonstrate through their plans how they're delivering circular economy approaches in their plans. So the whole idea about how they're using sourcing sustainable materials. So looking around the room here today, there's a lot of organisations that we want to see get into the supply chain and actually working with developers to get their products into buildings, whether it be sustainable cement, whether it be having up to 30 or 20% of products sourced from recycled content, right through to looking at whole life cycle costing, life cycle carbon, trying to see how we can pull all those sort of products and approaches together to deliver more circular and sustainable approaches in the construction and manufacturing, and also in the demolition phase as well. So that is going through the examination and public process as we speak. The session on that new policy will come up on the 30th of April at City Hall, and that's where we get our chance to defend the policy. And we've been testing that policy with a lot of developers and architects, and it's been met with a lot of support. It's about trying to make sure that we deliver it in a way that doesn't bring a lot of additional costs to developers and architects, but they also see the realised savings in terms of reduced disposal costs, longevity for their buildings, and also promoting things like modular design. So buildings can be very easily scaled up, or they can be decommissioned in a way where their products can be then put back out to market and fully realise the benefits of having modular products. So in this product, this diagram is basically sort of explaining the principles of what we mean by having circular buildings in our cityscape. The idea that we're building for modularity, for flexibility. We're thinking about future-proofing our buildings, not just putting them up and then knocking them down in 20 years' time or so and having all those materials go off to landfill or incineration. We're trying to be a bit more proactive or encourage developers to be more proactive in thinking about the afterlife of materials when they're putting forward planning applications. And just to try and further sort of reflect and reiterate the approach that we're taking, this is a diagram that was put forward by Useful Projects, which is our consultant helping us to develop some guidance to help developers develop their circular economy statements. And it's the idea of you're putting circular economy thinking right at the heart of your thought process, right at the heart of the design process. Quite often we find that a lot of applications that come through to us that we look at, good practice design in terms of sourcing sustainable materials and conserving resources is sort of put right at the back end of applications. We want to see that head and centre. We want to see how circular economy has been thought about right from the outset, and seeing that all the way through the development process, not just at the design stage, but also at the construction and deconstruction, and actually monitoring performance, so we can start to see, well, what developers are putting forward in the applications. Are they actually being delivered? Are they meaningful? And what are the lessons learned from those applications that we can then put into a bank of good practice and make that available to other developments that are trying to be more circular in their approaches. And just a few headlines from our London Environment Strategy. As I said, we're trying to embed circular economy practices across local waste plans, but also local procurement plans as well. We've got some pretty punchy targets, trying to cut food waste by 50% per person by 2030, with a particular focus on plastics and phasing out very hard to recycle plastics. And again, very happy to see government are backing that approach too, and considering a tax on hard to recycle plastics, and we'll be feeding back on that consultation as well. And ultimately trying to achieve a 65% municipal waste recycling rate by 2030, so that includes household waste and commercial waste. We're currently at 41% today, so a huge opportunity for improvement. And the key thing that we're driving forward to help meet that target is by introducing a minimum level of service for recycling from households at least, to be delivered by 2020 for every London borough. So it's a very ambitious strategy, but we think in combination with our own policies and what government are doing, we think we can get there. And then I think the second main area we're looking to embed circularity is through local authority public procurement plans. The GLA family, which includes those organisations up there, spend a huge amount on procurement, procuring things, procuring assets, whether it be trains, buses, transport infrastructure, spending £11 billion annually. So I think there's a huge sort of economy of scale benefits there to try and influence those procurement tenders to see how they can deliver circular economy products and services through those tenders, and then relaying that best practice to local authorities to make sure that they are also delivering circular economy in their procurement. An example we've got at the moment, quite an exciting one with the London Fire Brigade, is they're looking to see how they can use more of their uniforms, procuring them through a more of a reuse type approach. So how can more of their uniforms, their active wear, be repaired and reused as opposed to disposed of at the end of life. So just trying to choose certain product categories within their organisations that can be tailored to taking more circular economy approaches, where we're trying to reduce waste, but also improve reuse and recyclability of products that are actually procured through their supply chain. And finally, I think a lot of this is about infrastructure. This is a map of all London's waste and recycling reuse infrastructure. We have a goal to be 100% net waste self-sufficient in London, so that basically means having enough facilities in London to manage the amount of waste that we expect to be produced across all waste streams, with a particular focus on household, industrial and commercial waste. At the moment, most of our sites are these purple ones, which are transfer sites, where the majority of waste is basically put onto a ground, tipped up, put into trucks and then sent out to landfills and incinerators across the country. That's not obviously a great way to maintain, so we expect to see more of those sites become material reuse and reprocessing sites. But if we're successful, we won't need all these sites because there'll be less waste to be produced. And you can start to overlay this map with other maps around things like new housing zones and opportunity areas that are being developed. You can see the purple areas are where the new housing is expected to be put in place, and what was traditionally sort of fairly derelict areas in East London is now sort of prime time real estate along the river, but they've got a whole lot of waste facilities on those sites. So how do we integrate those sites in a positive way? How do we get more of those sites to be more friendly neighbours to new housing developments coming on stream is a massive challenge, but we think that can be achieved if we can make more of those sites friendlier neighbours by turning them into things like reuse stores, restart stores, that become community assets as opposed to sort of smelly, unwanted disposal sites. So it's really about enhancing our infrastructure, maximising sites, but at the same time seeing which sites maybe actually do they actually belong in those areas, can they be relocated, or can they be integrated into local developments, I think is a really important part of our identifying our infrastructure need. And that's it. I've tried to wrap it up very quickly in 10 minutes, but that's all I have. Thank you.